What struck you the most when you were making that Paralympic report for us?
Number one, it was very, very weird being on the other side of the camera.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Loved it. Quite nervous, but really enjoyed it. But what struck me most is what I've really seen over the last year is the interest in disability sport as just shot up because of the Paralympics and really what the power of sport is about, which I truly believe. I've always believed in sport as you know, a rehabilitation tool, but also, you know, just increasing people's confidence, and you saw that from the report.
And do you think that's part of the legacy of the Olympics and, of course, the Paralympics? And how has your life changed over the last 12 months?
How my life's changed over the last 12 months? Well, I mean, obviously, last summer was amazing. You know, that will always be in, you know, the memories there will always be in my head and my heart.
And, a very famous shot, isn't there, of you playing on the court and your little boy and your husband in the crowds, and that was a real defining moment for you, wasn't it?
Hugely. I mean, I've got goosebumps now as you talk about that, Emma. But yeah, that was our first game, and you know, walking out in front of 9,000 people, the biggest crowd that we'd ever played to was about 500 people. I came out of the tunnel and looked over to my left and saw my family going absolutely mad. But yeah, I saw my son on my husband's shoulder with a banner saying, "Go, mummy, go." And I knew at that point it had all been worth it. But yeah, for me, the last year, the closing ceremony of the Paralympics was quite emotional for me. It was it signified to me the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new one. And even Seb Coe mentioned about, you know, the London bombings and the doctor that worked on the victims, and that really signified in my head that I was always meant to make this journey. It was another sign.
Fascinating that you say that. I know we've spoken before about that, and also fascinating it's the closing ceremony, kind of end of a chapter perhaps for you, because you, of course, were on the train that fateful day, and the night you were late because the night before you'd been celebrating the Olympics, and guess how many years later you're actually involved in the Paralympics. Why do you believe it was your destiny almost to be there?
There's no question in my mind why I was involved in the London bombings, and that was, I think, to, you know, play a sport to represent my country and play a sport that I absolutely love. And I always will say that I was unlucky to get on that carriage, but in the same day I was so lucky to survive. And I don't think that was by chance. I think that was fate. And that's given me a real strength, actually, the last 8 years. I think it's given me my family strength as well.
Which is wonderful to listen to you say that. It's so affirming, and I know that you go out and you give your message to lots of other people who are in your situation. They must take a huge amount from what you have to say. The reality, I suppose, is slightly different in terms of the funding, isn't it? I know that sitting volleyball has had some of its funding cut.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, given how you talk about sport so wonderfully?
Well, you know, we live in a world where money makes the world go round. There is a pot of money out there for sport, but it's not endless. And I completely understand decisions have been made on the performance of certain sports and things like that. And I've always said that sitting volleyball as a sport, because we don't need chairs or other bits of equipment, all you need is a ball, a net, and your bottom, and lots of enthusiasm. So, you know, it's not, we're just more determined to prove that we're going to get that funding next year.
And I'm sure you will, because you've got bags of determination, that's for sure. Just briefly, Oscar, think of when he sees his mummy playing with those balls, what does he think?
Well,
he's getting to the age now where he understands.
Oh, completely. I mean, you know, and he remembers the Paralympics, you know, and he knows that mummy plays volleyball and that's her job. So every time I go out the door, I'm saying, I'm going to work, not necessarily playing volleyball, but you're going off to play volleyball. He's 4 now, and I'm sure that, you know, one day he'll realise what extent, and hopefully he'll be proud of his mum.
He'll be very proud of you, no doubt. Thank you very much for coming on and talking to me.
Thanks so much, Emma.